Welcome back to Ship, a team building focused podcast. This is my 7th podcast as I launch into this new world. I'm here to talk about and talk through a very special and important subject for all companies, all businesses, large or small, building a better team with the customer in mind. This is missing in everyday life. There are companies, large and small, that have forgotten who is paying their salaries or the bills of the company that individual works for. You see it every day. Thank you to everybody that has returned and given me feedback. Keep it up. Any feedback is welcome. This is the only way that I'm going to be able to make this enjoyable and more usable for you, the watcher or listener. This is a podcast that, this is my 7th one. I want to get through and help people. That is where RA Enterprises was birthed, with the notion that everybody can learn, anybody can help. And with that in mind, I've taken the model that I have as the Director of Operations at Premier Logistics Partners and how that we have impacted our customers and each other. RA Enterprises is how I'm giving back to others. It's helping others, serving others. And at the same time, it is making me a better person, a better husband, and a better father, and a better leader. Yes, I am in the freight industry. A lot of the subject matter will have a broker or 3PL lens when I talk. But any company, any industry, big or small, should strive to build a good team to support their clients and customers. Ripped from the headlines this week. It is trucking related, but it's also pretty impressive. There was a issue with a tractor trailer that went over the side of a bridge in Kentucky. And that was going to plummet into the river below. And it held on by a thread. Wow. What a team effort. What a scary time for that driver. But hey, teamwork of all those first responders yielded a successful rescue, and a quick one at that. Today, I want to jump into and talk about top-down support. So we hear about, top-down management, top-down, trickle-down economics. You hear all this stuff about the big people, the big, powerful, important people, how that flows down. But let's also talk about how those people should be supporting and leading their team, right? How do you support your team? As a staff member, meaning in the trenches, a team lead or leader of a group, a manager, a director, a vice president, the president or CEO of the company, or even the board. Some companies are ran by a board. Everybody will tell you that delegation is a must. It is very true. As those upper echelon, high-ranking officials in your business or in your company, they have a lot of responsibilities. They can't do everything, so they have to delegate. But let's look at each of those jobs and what those might look like every day. Let's start with a staff member, right? Staff member is just anybody on your team. They're in your accounting department. They're in your production department, your R&D department. They are in the warehouse. They're picking freight. They're picking orders. They're in your marketing department. They're in your whatever department it is, it really doesn't matter. A staff member is a member of a team to do a goal. Now, I'm going to use it in this aspect and in these examples. I'm pretty much going to look at sort of the freight side of stuff and how we are sort of set up on a freight brokerage, but also look at that from a customer service oriented type of company. So in this case, with a staff member, you're in a call center. You sit in a cubicle. You answer telephones as they are coming in. You're not making the calls. They're just coming directly into your headset. I mean, I'm old, so, this is a telephone to me. But in today's world, it's Bluetooth, right? And it's cell phones that we're used to. But when you work in a call center, you have a headset. And that call just goes automatically into you. You're a staff member. You're doing the bulk of the work. And how can you be a team player? How can you make your team better and support your team just by being a normal employee? Well, guess what? You're sitting next to somebody on either side or behind you. It just depends on the setup of the call center. If you notice somebody is struggling, you can help them out. You can talk to them. You can become friends with them. Support has to do with the way that you interact with your team members. It's not necessarily you're doing their work or you're giving them pointers on how they could be better or more like you. It is just interacting with them on a personal level, understanding how they are inside. So it could be raining outside, and this is just a crazy example, but it could be raining outside. There could be a member of your team that has anxiety about driving in the rain, makes them a nervous wreck, right? So when they come in on that day that it's raining, it might be nice just to say, hey, how are you doing today? I know that you have some anxiety around driving in the rain. I didn't experience that big of a problem, but I know you come from a different side of town. That person's going to receive that as, my gosh, they're talking to me on a personal level. They're trying to just not catch up, but just they want to check on me. That comes from the heart. God has given us the ability to be individuals and think for ourselves, but he's given us compassion to feel for others. So when you feel for another one on your team, you build that team. You build that strength and that trust that a team needs. So as a staff member, that you can have ripple effects across a department of 2, a department of 30 or 100, just by being supportive of your coworkers. Be a leader of your coworkers. If somebody is struggling, just pitch in. It doesn't matter if you have other stuff to do. Sometimes that little bit of help to that person will cheer them up, and ultimately make the customer's experience better. So rewind back to that person that might have anxiety on driving in the rain. Well, that first little bit that they're in that call center environment and having to talk to people that are just plopping into their earbuds, think about that for a minute. Think about what that entails in their brain. They're anxious. They're nervous. They're not calm. You want that because your end user, the person on that phone, is the one that you guys are to take care of, the customer, right? So let's just jump up a little bit more. Let's go to a team lead, right? So it could be a team lead on a dock, could be a team lead in a warehouse, on a manufacturing floor. Usually these people have a little bit more experience than the rest of the group, and that is because that they've been there either at that company a while, or they came from another company into that position when there was a position open. So a lead has additional responsibilities over just a general staff member. But as a lead, you are to lead. It is you're part of the title that you are, right? You don't have to become friends with everybody, but dang it, you do have to understand the different people that are around you. They're not under you. Let me make sure that is clear. A team lead is not a manager. They are not somebody that directs you how to do your job. They are a lead. They are a little bit elevated because, again, they have a little more experience. So if I'm a staff member, and let's just take my environment, right? The 3PL brokerage world. And let's take it specifically the department that I'm in charge of at PLP Logistics. It's the operations team. So on my team, I have a couple different guys, and part of our segment is LTL. So when we hire somebody in that might not have as much experience and they get a really funky situation with a shipment, they're going to go to Jeremy, who's our LTL lead. He's been in this industry and in that seat and in that role for a while. He has a wealth of knowledge inside of him. So you're going to say, hey, Jeremy, I got this problem. I don't know exactly how to get it done. Customer's really upset and irate. Well, in return, because Jeremy has that wealth of knowledge, he's going to be able then to say, okay, here's what you need to do. Or he's going to ask clarifying questions. Well, did you look at this yet? Have you been able to pull and look at this information on the carrier's website? The same thing in a call center environment. If you work for AT&T, let's say, and you're calling in, again, it's AT&T, so that's cell phones, that's internet, that's cable, that's all sorts of stuff, right? When I call AT&T, when my internet goes down here at the house, I'm in trouble. I'm a little frustrated as a caller into that call center. That person that I originally talked to might not know how to handle my situation. So they're going to put me on hold, and they're going to either dial over, depending on the call center environment. And a lot of call centers now have gone remote. So there's going to be some type of instant messaging, Slack or Teams, Microsoft Teams, or even Google Chat. There's ways that these departments and these staff members and teams can interact, right? So that team lead's going to help that other employee with my situation. If my internet does go down here at the house, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to pick up my cell phone, which is Verizon, by the way, and call AT&T. Now, I got AT&T fiber here at the house. It came and trashed our yards a couple of years ago, which is a whole nother problem. But that lead, that staff person is going to walk me through how to reset my modem, how to check this, look at these lights, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that team lead might have some other steps that they can go through because, again, the escalation within their call center and the people that can help you when you call in. Leads are very important because, again, you're a lead. You are typically a leader of a team with some expertise. Part of your job to support that staff member is to give them the knowledge, help them understand. It's to get them through a situation. The knowledge a lead has, that experience, you cannot put a dollar amount on. You cannot you just can't do it. All right, back up to these guys with this bridge issue with the driver that went over the side of the bridge. I guarantee you most of the people there had never been through that. They had never seen an accident where an 18-wheeler tractor trailer is literally hanging by a tank underneath the trailer. Nobody has seen that, but maybe one or two. Or they picked up the phone and they called for help, which is okay. That's what a lead does. A lead helps the team be more successful. They help the team be informed. There might be stuff that filters down from upper management that goes to a lead, and the lead needs to let the team know. So again, different flavors, different types of support from a staff member to a lead. Okay, now let's bump up a little bit. Let's talk about a manager. Now, the word manager, of course, we all like, you manage, right? That's somebody with a little bit more authority, a little bit more experience, most cases, sometimes not. But their job is to manage a department or a team. In other words, are we hitting the matrices we need to hit? Are we supporting the customers? Are we doing those KPIs like we should? That's what a manager does. They manage processes and procedures. So in my world, we don't have a operations manager. But if we did, it would be somebody that would manage multiple teams. So just take LTL, for instance. If we had 2 teams of LTL workers for our ops team, that manager would have 2 leads because there's a lead of each of those teams. So that manager is there to manage and support both of those teams, both of those silos, right? One team could be focused on the East Coast. We'll make this easy. And this goes for call centers too. It could also go for warehouses. You could have a warehouse that's split with teams. One handles West Coast freight, the other one handles East Coast freight. So, but you have a manager at the top of that. They go to meetings, so they're not always there. That's where that team lead comes in. They help to train. They help to hire. They support that lead and those staff members. So that manager has to have good scruples. They have to have a good brain. They have to be able to interact with people. You cannot have a manager that is narrow-minded and self-centered. You can't. It is impossible for them to relate to the other staff around them on their level, upper management for where they get some of the directives from, and then the people that are underneath them. Managers have to be able to flex and understand how to get the job done, make sure that everybody around them is informed, and also very key point here. And managers have to jump into the trenches. If you get really, really busy, let's say you are in a warehouse situation, you are on a dock, you're in a manufacturing facility, and somebody calls out, it is your job as the manager to jump into that seat, to do that job. Because at the end of the day, your customer needs their freight, their item, their call answered, or yet they just need somebody to get them their item that they purchased or the service that they need to have taken care of. Take AT&T, we'll throw them back under the bus. When it goes from a normal call center employee up to a lead or manager, all of a sudden there's a major issue when it gets that high. That's the other reason why I'm saying that a manager has to be able to jump in and willing to jump into the trenches. There might be a volatile situation. You might have an upset customer for whatever industry. And that manager's job is to help cool that down, help to solidify a solution for that customer. They have to be able to interact on the customer level and then be able to go up a little bit because they're a manager. So they have other responsibilities up the chain. Think about that. They have to take that individual situation that was really negative, really frustrating for the customer, and then turn it into a positive so that they can then get it up the chain so that later on things can happen, changes can happen. So that's extremely important on the manager level. Directors. Now, I'm the director of operations. Now, we're set up a little different in our brokerage, but that's okay. Directors also have to be able to support each level underneath them. So in my responsibilities at PLP Logistics, I have LTL, truckload, as well as cargo claims. I'm also a member of our L10 leadership team. Now, when you look at that, that's different pieces of the day that I have to manage, but I have to also be willing to jump back into the fray. Because there are some times that directors have to do that. You have multiple segments that you're in charge of. You have multiple managers within those segments, multiple leads, and multiple staff members. So your team that you direct might be 15, might be 10, might be 5, could be 200. Depends on your organization. But there are times that you're going to have to still jump into the fray. You have to keep in your mind and in your brain that how that the staff member does their job. At the end of the day, that staff member might have a big problem that's identified in a process, and you as the director need to come up with a solution. Well, guess what? If you don't understand what that staff member does, if you don't understand what that lead does and that manager does, you're never going to be a good director. I guarantee you that. Because you are there to support your team. At the end of the day, that customer needs your team to be effective, and they need your team to communicate well, and they need your team to produce something that that end user, that customer, that buyer cannot do alone. Now, a little bit of separation here. I'm not going to go too awfully much into the next 3 roles as much as I did those, but a vice president. So a vice president is big and huge and powerful, but they're usually in charge of complete divisions. Gets very interesting how the title of vice president is sort of thrown around I hate to say this right now to the salespeople out there that might be listening, but Vice President of the Eastern District of the United States for sales, it's just a title on a card. There are Vice President can be very interchangeable with different things. But again, number one job, support the staff member, support the lead, support the manager, support the director. So that director reports to that VP. So if things are going wrong with those other rungs, guess what? That director's in trouble with that VP. So still, the VP has to he doesn't have to understand the minute processes that happen in those other rungs, but he does need a general concept. SOPs and stuff like that, he doesn't really have to know them, but it would be nice to give him a piece of paper, which I don't have a piece of paper very readily handy, but take that piece of paper, be able to read through it, and still comprehend what a process could be. So a lot of VPs are promoted from within, but a lot of them come from outside the organization. When you get to sort of that director and that VP level, when they come in from outside the organization, they have a different angle and a different mindset. So it might actually help your organization. If you are a director, a manager, a leader, a staff member, and you get a new higher manager level person, be open-minded for them. You never know what kind of tools they have and what kind of magic they can turn with inside your organization. Presidents. Well, if you're a smaller company, your president could be the owner of your company, could be the CEO of the company. So the CEO and president and owners sometimes all are wrapped together in one person, depending on the size of your organization. But they all are there to do what? Run a business. Their job is to make sure the whole business, top to bottom, bottom to top, works together for the customer. Because why are you in business? Why are you the president? Why are you a CEO? You're there to produce a product, to give a service, or to transport something. Those are your keys of a president, a CEO, and an owner. You're not there just to kick back and play golf all day. You're not. You're there to lead the entire company. So you have to have a good level of delegation, a good level of people skills, a good level of involvement in the people underneath you. But you need a strong team. You, as the owner, as the president, as the CEO, I stress this, you cannot bully other people. You cannot find faults all the time in what they are doing. You will chase those people straight out of your organization. You need to make sure they are compensated for what they do for you. If you're struggling financially, well, guess what? There's other ways to do that. There's other forms and other ways of encouragement for your team. But you have to have an open mind to everything. You have to be flexible, because if your business is struggling, you need everybody around you to be flexible as well. That team atmosphere at the end of the day. Let's look at Apple, because this is an Apple phone. You can't see it because of my cover, but it is an iPhone. Apple is $1 billion company, right? It takes a team to develop, design, manufacture, distribute the next iPhone. That's not a one-person job. It takes a team. Because me as a consumer, I want my good iPhone to not break, to not drain. Well, it's going to drain my battery anyway. But, yeah, I want the latest, greatest, next best thing if I'm one of those people that buys the new iPhone every year when it comes out, and I'm willing to spend $1,200. So, and then quickly, because we're starting to run long on time, boards. Well, boards are there to support typically the upper management side. They are made up of shareholders typically that have a financial involvement in the business. So they are there to make decisions. If the CEO or president is not cutting it, the board can remove them and put somebody else in to then lead that entire organization. So think about that. Think about who you are in your organization. Think about how you in your organization, whether or not you're a staff member, a lead, a manager, a director, a vice president, our division leader, a CEO, an owner. Think about your individual involvement, your individual ideas. But more than anything, think about your teammates. Think about your staff mates. Someone might be having a bad day. It doesn't matter what level they're at. Just recognize it. Say, hey, dude. Hey, ma'am. If you need to talk, I'm here. Hey, I know that was stressful. I understand the frustration you have, because that would have shook me up too. But hey, we're here today. Do you want a donut? I hear there's donuts in the break room. Like, just stuff like that. Anybody in any organization, vice president, president, CEO, board members, if you see a staff member struggling, talk to them. But every organization should have a bottom to top communication. Anybody in an organization should be able to talk to anybody else in the organization. Have that intimacy of your staff members. It's extremely important to build a strong team. Well, guys, that's how I wanted to sort of talk today. And this week is going to be an interesting week. I got a lot of stuff going on, and I'm probably going to drop another podcast later in the week before the weekend, and might even get a little clips of St. Patty's Day down in Savannah, Georgia, because I am going down there. But let me wrap this up with a shout-out corner. In the trucking industry, we have trucking terminal workers, LTL, FTL, as well as your rail guys. It took me a little bit, and it was hard to get some good numbers here, but definitely all trucking terminal workers. Roughly 80% of them are male, roughly 18% female. The rough medium age is 44 for males and 37 for females. But think of the elements that we just came out of, the winter elements. Some extremely bone cold temperatures that we had earlier in the calendar year, in January. Most docks aren't even heated. They battle the elements. I could not do it. No. That is not Eric Ransom. That is not me. No way. But these individuals do it every day. They make sure our goods are moved across this great nation that we have. Nothing can stop them. Not weather. Not even COVID, y'all. I'm telling you. Trucking companies worked hard. These dock workers worked even harder over the last 4 years to make sure that our lives are good. And we have our things on the shelves at your local stores, no matter what type of store that is. So hats off to the LTL and truckload terminal workers, inside and out. Quote of the week corner. You got to do your own growing, no matter how tall your father was. Sorry, just reading that now. I mean, I ran across this the other day because I was just looking at a couple things leading into the St. Patrick's Week. But guys, that is an Irish quote from somewhere. I have no idea. It's very random. But again, you've got to do your own growing, no matter how tall your father was. Well, I hope everybody has a great week. Thank you for watching or listening. Please subscribe and follow me here on YouTube or over on LinkedIn. You can always drop me an email and I'll get right back to you. Thank you very much. Have a great week. God bless you.